uh, I'll introduce it. Morning, Matt. Thank you very much for joining us this morning to talk about Rabbit Start.
No problem at all. I think it's an important part of making sure that more people feel comfortable with joining in on Sunday racing. We know the numbers have been fairly low compared to what we'd expect in the summer. Maybe this video can encourage more people to join us on the water to know how to start well with these new rabbit starts that we've been doing.
Yeah, you say new. I mean, we've been doing them for about 18 months now at the club.
Yeah, you say that. Sometimes, if you had a bird's eye view, there'd be has anybody done this before? But there are certain fleets that are brilliant, and there are certain sailors that would benefit from a bit of a recap and a bit of a guide as to how to make it work for them.
And they're not new because they've been used in international competitions and fleet racing, and it's part of the kind of RYA rule book, isn't it? The Rabbit Start.
Well, you say for international events, it's quite interesting that this year was the first time ever in my 25 years of doing nationals that I was high enough up the fleet to come in 10th place, because in a nationals fleet it's the 10th boat, so on the whole they're going to be a reasonable kind of sailor. And at the Supernovas I was the rabbit to release 120 Supernovas down at Plymouth this year. So yeah, it's been used for a long time, but never been me. And maybe the Chelmarsh system gave me the confidence to know what the hell to do for it.
Great. So I'm speaking to a top rabbit this morning. So hopefully what we're going to do, and I've seen this at the racecraft sessions which you've been running. It was a great little presentation which just kind of outlines how a rabbit start works and kind of how to be in the best place at the start and make it work for you. So perhaps you just take us through, Matt, and if you don't mind, I might just interject as we go along.
Okay, yeah. Now my IT skills are reasonable, but they're not fantastic. So let me just run through what's on the screen in front of you. We've got the wind's direction marked on by those red arrows. So the wind is coming from the top of the screen downwards, and we have the last mark of the course as that blue circle towards the lower part. It doesn't matter which way round the course board says, that last mark of the course in terms of the start always has to be rounded to port by the Pathfinder boat. So there's my last mark of the course. In terms of this presentation, I'm going to call it buoy 9, and I'll be beating to buoy 3 somewhere off the top of the screen.
Okay.
The dashed and dotted line is a wind that is going, a course that is a close hauled course on a port tack. So
okay.
If you look at the angle compared to the red arrow in the top right, it is 45 degrees, give or take, to that wind's direction. So that's
okay,
a close
so for our newer sailors, we talk about the no-go zone. And that kind of 45 degrees, being as close to the wind as you can comfortably sail without the sails flapping. So it's that kind of close hauled, as you say, 45 degrees just on the edge of the no-go zone.
Yeah. And the Pathfinder, who's the rabbit who is going to open the start, in theory, will sail along that dashed and dotted line for around about 35, 45, 50 seconds to open the start. The Pathfinder has a set point, a set time where they have to go around that blue mark. So the Pathfinder is this boat in the bottom left-hand corner. In theory, when I press my space bar, my little boat is going to start to move. Let's see, there we go. So my Pathfinder, my rabbits, is approaching that mark, and at their start time, they should be somewhere at that point there. So it's certainly for the solos in a 28-minute pursuit, they will be there at 3 minutes 32 seconds, a GP14 3 minutes 50, a laser 4 minutes 30. And at that point, the Pathfinder would have approached and got to that mark, just ready to go onto a close hauled course. So the Pathfinder has gone round that last mark of the course on a port tack and is now going to open the gate. And you'll notice as they sail along, the gap between the last mark of the course and the Pathfinder gets bigger. And so the start line gets bigger. And all the other boats have to cross that Pathfinder's, that rabbit's transom. That's just the general view of what the Pathfinder does. So what I'm going to do is go on to the next slide, and in theory, it'll start again. And the Pathfinder again is on that bottom left-hand side. We're starting at that leeward mark, the last mark of the course. This time I've added a second dotted line because that shows the close-hauled course on starboard. And so a boat would need to be above to windward of that dotted line to allow them to cross behind the Pathfinder, but also go to the port side of that mark. So they would leave it to port. There's a few places where start boats cannot be. The first place is there. If a start boat, if one of the boats that's trying to start is in that red area there, they can't make the mark. So that is a no-go zone.
Okay, so they need to be on the side of the mark that's not in the red zone. So in order to start, they need to be further up the screen.
Yes, they do. There's a few more zones going to get marked on, David. So let me show you where the next no place zone is. If you're in that area there, that sort of slightly pinker colour, you can be there, but it's a very, very fine. If the wind changes direction, you might not make the mark. You might not be able to pass that mark to port. Yeah. You can be there, but we'll show on a video in a few moments' time. If there's lots of boats fighting for that same location, it becomes quite carnage. Another place where it's quite a dangerous place to be is there. Anywhere fairly close to the beating line of the Pathfinder, the rabbit, that's quite a dangerous place to be within 1 or 2 boat lengths of that dotted line that the Pathfinder is going to sail along, because that's the rules do not allow you to have any rights to squeeze in behind the Pathfinder. That means that if you're in that area there with 10 seconds to go before the start, you're in quite a dangerous place. Where do you want to be? You want to be in that green area there. That green area is to windward of the starboard dotted line, the one that's going up to the top left. It's to leeward, it's downwind of the Pathfinder's start. So you'll notice there's 4 or 5 boats that are located in that green area. They're sort of getting ready to start. I don't know if this is making much sense to people, but let's see. The Pathfinder is now going to sail along that start line. Approaching the start line at 0 as far as the watch is concerned, they're going to sail along that Pathfinder line, and all the other boats are going to think, right, I've got to get in that gap. My IT skills are not that good yet, David, so I've not got them all to zoom in perfectly behind. But you can see that all those boats in the green will have said, right, that start line is open. And it's my job to get as close to, without hitting, that port boat who is opening the start line for me.
Yeah.
Let's see if this works. I've tried to tweak my PowerPoint this morning, but I think I failed. So again, there's my Pathfinder. I like how this does time and time again. Pathfinder at 0 on their watch needs to be there. They're opening the gates. You'll notice my timing's not perfect here, but all the boats that are in that green area, in that bottom right, they're all sitting there with their sails out. As the Pathfinder opens the gates, they harden up and they start.
Oh, okay. So for the newer sailors, your sails are flappy when you're in that kind of waiting zone.
Yep.
You're just spilling wind, slowing down. And then as the gate opens, you're tightening your sails in, pushing on the accelerator, and away you go up over the start.
And if I just go back to that, bearing in mind the Pathfinder, the rabbit is now well on the top right. In theory, each boat, as the Pathfinder passes, will tighten their sails and go. The next one will tighten their sails and go. The next one will tighten their sails and go, and again. And so you can see that all 5 boats that are now on that screen, there's one boat that's had a slight distance advantage. That's the boat that started. But the rest of them have all had a fairly clean start. They've all got nice, clean, fresh air. The boat that started first is furthest up the course in terms of on the left-hand side. But all the other boats, in theory, have had a fairly clean start. Now, that's what it looks like on a computer screen. I think it's probably worthwhile, David, if we show a video of this. And so if we can talk through what the RS200s did at their nationals. Is this going to work? Oh, there's one more boat started.
Yeah, he was a bit late, that one.
So on YouTube, there's been this link has been sat on various different locations within emails that have been sent out and maybe on TGIF. This RS200 Nationals is the best video that we've found that shows how to do a gate start. It's quite complicated, so I'm just going to talk you through. I will also share this link as well through TGIF again, just so that people can watch it in their own time. I'm hoping that you probably won't hear sound with this, but you'll hear mine and David's dulcet tones. So this is the RS200 starts. I don't know if the music is being played. We'll see. Okay, so there is the start mark, the mark with the red flag on it. That is the start mark. There is the Pathfinder, and these are all the boats. Notice there's no dotted lines on the water. So what a good tactic to do to pre-start for you as a sailor is to do a bit of a practice start and just see where is that dotted line, because you can't see it on the water. So your job is to work out where that dotted line is well before your Pathfinder, your rabbit, has started the course. Oh.
So on this video, we've got a gate boat and a guard boat. That's because it's a big competition. I guess at Chelmarsh, we just don't have that. We have just the Pathfinder.
Definitely. The reason why you have the guard boat and the gate boat is to protect this, the Pathfinder. Because they're on a port tack, a lot of people seem to think that the starboard starting boats have rights. That Pathfinder is actually, from what I've been told, is a member of the race committee until they open. So you can't call starboard on a Pathfinder boat. And so the guard boat protects the side of the Pathfinder at a nationals event. And you know what? They know what they're doing. They're quite impressive, these guard boats. The GP14s used to have a wooden plank by the side to protect the guard boat from the over zealous GP14s. Right. Let me press play again, David, and we'll see if this makes sense.
Yeah.
So this is around about 10 seconds. 5, 3, 2, 1. So the start boat is now starting at 0 as far as the timing is concerned.
Yeah.
You can see all the boats that are racking up. A lot of these 4 boats here are in what I call the sort of danger zone. There's not enough room for them all to start, so it gets all really tight and squeezy. If I just pause it there are some boats there that are breaking the rules. The boat just to the side of the first yellow rib, that boat is trying to squeeze in and breaking the rules.
He's pushing his way in and impeding the other boats, isn't he?
Definitely. And you'll see as we go further up this video, those boats that find space pre-start get clean starts. The boats that are surrounded by 2, 3 other boats, they're fighting for the same bit of wind. You can see that the boat, the sort of boat furthest right on the course is already knowing his race is destroyed, because he's going to be sailing in the lee, in the dirty air of at least 3 other boats.
Yeah.
I mean, that's carnage. That is absolute carnage. And you can see what a mess that they've put themselves in, because they're all
back in that pink zone that you showed us earlier, aren't they? They're too close to the mark.
Yes, they are.
And they're putting
Yes,
themselves in difficulty. Yeah.
And there's two boats here. Whether you can see the numbers are 1363, the boat that's sort of pointing straight towards the start buoys. He's going to get squeezed out by another guy coming. It's a mess if you're surrounded by the boats. That's my message from this.
So you're better to kind of be a bit further up the start line, like these other boats. They've got
I think
clean
you
air
are.
and they're in a good position. Yeah.
A lot of these boats are very, very early. They're all bearing away to start. And all these are being impacted by other boats. Now there's a boat here. We've just come into screen. The guy wearing the yellow, he's got lots of space. He's going to get a nice clean start. There's nobody above him, nobody below him. 3, 2, 1, and whoosh. He's got a clean start. Again, clean start. All the guys that found space, you've got a mess here. These 4 boats coming up. All these 4 boats are going to be impacted by others.
Yeah.
You find clean space on a start line. I mean, look at those 2. You get clean space on a start line, you'll be away. You get dirty air on the start line, you're in a mess.
God, wouldn't it be great to see a start like that at Chelmarsh, all those boats?
The Supernovas, there are 120 boats, and you can see those boats that understand time and distance get good starts. And you can practice this. You can practice and say, right, I'm going to time myself 10 seconds before before beating, and then sail towards a mark and count down your time and distance. The Pathfinder is a really important job that the Pathfinder has. The Rabbit, if they're late to the start, every member of their fleet is late for a start. If you're doing class racing, it's not a problem. If you're doing pursuit racing, your whole fleet is penalised by having a late Rabbit. I'm very conscious that when I'm playing this, I've got music in my ears and you probably can't hear the music. I don't know if it's going to record. I don't know. Let's just get to the end of this little section. I want to show you the Pathfinder being free to tack off. Just notice the purple boat at the sort of top of the screen. You can see how late they are for the start. They're already probably 8, 10 boat lengths late, sailing in dirty air. And it's a different way of starting. In a way, it gets more people to get a free, clean start. But if you get it wrong, you're being penalised for the rest of the race. So the Pathfinder is going to get sped up by the computer system. And coming up now, the gate boat and the race officer who's going to be sat in one of those ribs is going to say to the Pathfinder, right, you're free to go.
Yeah.
There he goes. So the Pathfinder, the Rabbit, has now been given free permission to go. At Chelmarsh, the Pathfinder has got 2 responsibilities. One is to get a clean start, and secondly, to get as many of the boats to get a clean start themselves. Once you have passed the last boat as Pathfinder, the last starting boat, you're free to go. If the fleet are spread out too far, and you as the Pathfinder are approaching the ley line for the first mark you're going to, again, you can tack. So the Pathfinder has to make sure that he opens the gate, he passes the last boat to start, or reaches the ley line. And if the ley line is before all the boats have started, that's their responsibility to then duck back and go behind where you tacked off. I've not seen it happen at Chelmarsh yet. Our beats have been long enough and our starts have been clean enough. We're not good enough yet at it with some fleets. With other fleets, the lasers are amazing. The lasers, the Gordons, the Wills, their starts are just fabulous. What else to tell you with this? You'll notice in the Nationals, the gate boats and the guard boat carry on, and all they will do is they will just continue the heading and speed that they were sailing before the Pathfinder got released.
Yeah.
Right. I think that the more times you do this and you see how other fleets do it, the better you get. If you're a solo sailor and you want some time to watch, just have a race where you don't actually sail and just go and watch what the other fleets do behind you. I'm conscious. I think that the lasers are good because they've got to see how the solos do it from a bird's eye view, or from a what's the right word? An observer. The lasers know what they're doing solos. So solos go and see what they're up to. I think the supernovas are good because they've seen how the solos and the lasers do it. It's a case of seeing it. The more you watch, the more you see, the better you get at doing it.
And it feels like a very fair starting system. You know, everybody gets an equal opportunity of a good start. There's not a crowded start line with people trying to push their way in at one end or another. So in some ways, it's a bit simpler than a line start. You don't have to think, which end of the line do I want to be? You still have to think about, you know, the best place for your start, but everybody can get clear air. Everybody can have a good start to their race.
That clear air you're in control of, because if you see there's a busy area, you've got time. Even after Pathfinder has started, you can change where you are on that start line. Finding clean air gives you a clean start. What's the maximum fleet size we have at Chelmarsh? Probably for solos with 8-9 boats sometimes.
Yeah.
There's never a reason, apart from we had on Wednesday where we had a rubbish start line a couple of weeks back because the wind changed. In theory, our start lines are giving everybody ample space. And you're right, everybody can get clean. They can get their own clean air. There's no one best end. So it allows everybody to have an equal chance of getting to that first mark first. And for some sailors at our club, it works better because they're not having to battle against other people. They can still get a nice clean start without having to battle against the Jonathans and the Dads and the Richards Holts who are always there at the right place at the right time.
Yeah. So the fleets need to work out who the Pathfinder is. It's really important everybody knows who the Pathfinder is. And then the Pathfinder is going to be starting on port tack. Everybody else is going to be on starboard tack. And there's a comfort zone that they should be in, that green zone that we looked at the beginning.
Just go back. There we go.
Perfect.
And tell me what their sails are like, David.
Well, they're flapping. They're just waiting for the Pathfinder. And then as the Pathfinder starts, they're sheeting in and zooming through. There we go.
The only negative part of my little PowerPoint there is that the Pathfinder would be moving along that dotted line, and each of these boats would be going as close to the Pathfinder as possible. Yeah. And that's, I wish my IT skills were a little bit better, but they're not.
I think this has been a great presentation. I think it's something that people might want to look at a couple of times to familiarise themselves with starting, and I think it's really helpful. Matt, I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for helping us out.
No problem. Okay. I hope
Lovely.
it worked. Thanks, David.
See you on the water soon. See you Indeed. On the water soon.
Right, I will just go and pause the video. So if I now go to there and stop recording.